Welcome everyone to the 2015 AAA 400 at Dover race review, where I recap what went on before the race, during the race, and after the race, looking ahead to the next week, and all of them in one take with not a lot of practice at all, or no practice at all. Sort of like what we saw on both Friday and Saturday, with very limited practice. But I'll get into that in a second. So overall, my thoughts on this race. I think, I really could go either way. I think part of me wants to say that this was a good race. Part of me wants to say I was not entertained whatsoever, etc. And to me, I think maybe I might just. I think maybe if I think of the overall package, combine the racing, combine the winner, combine some of the surprising finishers, and maybe some of the other stuff. I guess I'll label this race under, I guess, solidly good. If it's even how you can describe something. The racing itself was not that great, but then again, Dover, ever since I started watching it in the fall of 2007, there's never really ever been. Dover really has not ever been entertaining or just fun to watch. And it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. I think in a way, Dover is an example of, just because a racetrack is unique and not like any other, doesn't mean that it's going to lead to better racing. I mean, to me, I think what some people say, we want not unique tracks to the schedule. I think some of them might be saying it just for the sake of good racing, not for the sake of good racing, just for the sake of wanting to see some variety in the schedule. Not exactly because Milwaukee puts good racing. We should go to that racetrack, So yeah. But overall, other than the racing product, I was definitely in those closing laps. My heart was racing just simply because there was a lot of things that are being talked about. One was Kevin Harvick. He finally gets to victory lane. It took forever, and to me, this was very overdue. And that team did what they had to do. They entered this race I think it was 23 points behind the cutoff line. So yeah, they definitely had to win. And the thing is, they stepped to the occasion. They were incredibly dominant. 355 laps led. Possibly, maybe Kevin Harvick's most dominant performance ever at a racetrack. Maybe. And the thing is, he finally closed the deal. Last week, I remember asking myself a question towards the end of last week's race review. Can the closer close the deal? Well, he just answered that. And the thing is, it wasn't just him. Kyle Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Mick Murray all who were sort of also, not sort of, they actually were also behind or just above the cutoff line. And to me, all four of them definitely rose to the occasion. And all four, I think, definitely threw it all out on the line. And the thing is, here's a bit of drama they may have had forgotten or weren't aware of. By the end of the race, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and McMurray were actually tied for 12th. Who wins the tiebreaker? Well, the thing is, I actually did not know that. Didn't know this last season when the chase was first introduced. The thing is, in this situation, the tiebreaker goes to the best finishing, as opposed to maybe in years past where a tiebreaker would have been would have been decided on most wins or highest in the points. So that was interesting. And I think it's also because several chasers did have their struggles. It also allowed for a couple of non-chasers to really get some good finishes. I mean, look at this. Almirola gets a top 5 finish, another top 5, only his third top 5 of the season. And I think he also finished top 5 back in May as well. So to me, it looks like this track is definitely one of Eric Almirola's best racetracks. Also, Casey Kane. I think maybe I said something last week saying This is Casey Kane's best finish in a while, but to me, I think this was definitely the best I've seen out of Casey Kane in quite some time. Also look at Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Only a second top 10, I believe, or third this season. And he was actually the highest finishing Roush car, and then Kyle Larson, he finished ninth, but to me he was actually a lot more better than that. It was just that the car, I think, was just simply going away. I think it was just simply like going away in the last one. The thing is, he was as high as second and maintained that position for quite some time late in the race. I don't think he had anything for Harvick, but then again, no one had anything for Harvick. But to me, Larson definitely had a much more better performance in car the more he ended up finishing at. The more he ended up finishing. That's just my opinion. And the thing is, when it comes to some of the chase drivers that I think maybe fell below expectation, I have to look at or simply made mistakes. Carl Edwards, Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Hamlin, and Newman. These five. Edwards, I think he had some kind of issue on pit road late in the race, and Denny Hamlin, he was running very well in the early portion of the race, but then all of a sudden sped on pit road, lost all of his track position, and because Dover is so hard to, and because Dover is such a difficult track to pass on, it's actually sort of ridiculous. He went down a lap and was able to get back on the lead lap. The thing is, he was just simply never able to recover. Paul Menard, I think earlier in the race or during the race, they said that that team and him were pretty optimistic. They were going to have a much more better run than where he ended up finishing up, which was 25th. And so to me, that was pretty disappointing. And then of course, probably the biggest shocker of them all who got eliminated, Jimmy Johnson, making his 500th career start, all-time winner at Dover. And actually, if Johnson had just led a lap in today's race, he would have led 3,000 laps at Dover. He already is the all-time lap leader. In fact, I believe, like back in May or maybe last year, he actually got that lead. But overall, Johnson, he was running good, but then all of a sudden had some sort of issue with the rear of the car. I think it had something to do with an axle. I don't really know exactly what it was, but to me, it definitely hurt him. And the thing is, when the team came back onto the racetrack, and at the time it was just like 37 laps down, he needed several other drivers. He basically needed like a big one, which to me we have seen before at Dover. But to me, like big ones at Dover, even though I sort of think that they sort of like hype like them up and maybe sometimes say like get ready for the big one at Dover. Really, the thing is though, is to me, based on what I've seen, a big one at Dover really only happens every like several years. I think last time we had like a huge multi-car incident at Dover was actually the June race in like May, June. I don't know what month it was on, but I think it was actually May. Maybe I'm wrong, but that race in 2012, and that was early on in the race. Since then, I don't think we've had a type of wreck. And so overall, even though I'm a Johnson fan and I know many are going to criticize the system, there's just simply like next season, and to me, I still think Johnson is going to be able to be strong. But anyway, that's kind of all I really have to say about the race and about where some of the drivers finished. Now I'm going to get into the previous show. And so to me, for those that think that I'm going to be talking about Tony Stewart's retirement, I already uploaded a video about that this past Friday. And so if you want to see that, the video is uploaded, and it should be pretty easy to find. But the thing is, there will be some other information sort of regarding to that. But anyway, let's get started. Probably one of the biggest stories, if not the biggest story, Anthony speaking, was sort of like, is Hurricane Joaquin going to lead to like a going to create some serious trouble. There were some reports and some people like wondering like how is it going to affect the travel? Are the races going to get postponed? And the thing is, when I first heard this news, I really thought that Dover might be in serious trouble, but thankfully the weather started to clear up before it could have gone much worse. And so the thing is, where should I start? Well, Clint Boyer and the pitching team, the appeal was upheld. So the thing is, the points, fines, and suspension will remain. Brian Patty actually returned to the box of Clint Boyer. And so the thing is, this put Clint Boyer really in a must-win situation. And so the thing is, obviously, this race was the last race in the first round, or in other words, the contender round. And the thing is, we have big names like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jeff Gordon, who all could be easily they all could have been easily eliminated. And the thing is, there are also some warnings. Kevin Harvick, Brett Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Alex Bowman, and Timmy Hill all received warnings regarding something to inspection. Either they were late or they failed inspection. Harvick was nailed down with the harsh penalty because I think they actually got a warning the week before or sometime before. And so the thing is, he lost 15 minutes of practice. The thing is because practice was severely limited, that loss of 15 minutes is going to happen next week at Charlotte. And also one of the other bigger stories. I don't know if you heard, I don't know if some of you heard about this thing, is the restart box at Dover is being doubled. And if you've been following, there's been a lot of talk about the restart zone. And thing is, one of the main things that people, both drivers and fans, are criticizing is sort of the inconsistency from NASCAR on who gets penalized and who doesn't get penalized. And to me, when this was announced, a lot I think that there were many drivers that actually took to Twitter thinking that doubling the restart box for not only Dover but also for the remaining of the racetracks is going to help. And in today's race at Dover, there were no restart issues. So there were no restart issues at all. So I think that was good. So to me, it's going to be interesting to see if we'll have restart issues in the future. It may be in the years looking forward. And also, I wonder if maybe like, okay, fine, what's going to be next? Are they going to make any more changes? We're just going to have to see. But anyway, so the thing is, obviously, I talked about Hurricane Joaquin. Well, the thing is, it wasn't Hurricane Joaquin, but I think it was sort of like, I guess you could call it maybe like, leftovers or maybe like nearby storms. The thing is, because all the track activity on Friday, for both the Sprint Cup race and the Xfinity race, the practice sessions, the qualifying, it was all rained out. And to me, I can't really remember the last time this actually ever happened. So it's definitely something. And the thing is, because qualifying was canceled, everything was set by points. Or in other words, like where you are in the point stands, or from the chase, where you were in the chase grid. So the thing is, that led to Matt Kenseth. That led to Matt Kenseth getting the pole. Dan Hamlin starts next to him, and the thing is, like, I'm sure you could find the chase grid entering over and basically look at that, and that was basically a starting lineup for this race. And then also on the day, it was announced that Clint Boyer will drive for H. Scott Motorsports in the 51 car. And the thing is, this team is going to form a technical alliance with Stewart-Haas Racing, and this will also help Boyer prepare for when he takes over the 14 car, which is currently being occupied by Tony Stewart. And I think is this news. I think maybe about like a month ago, there were some rumors about this, and to me, those rumors finally became true. This simply did not surprise me. But one thing I actually sort of did, however, was to me like there were maybe a couple articles. There were maybe a couple articles I saw about this. It was actually, I think Tony Stewart actually originally wanted Kyle Larson to drive the 14 car. But the thing is, like, you know, like certain deals just simply did not end up working, and Clipboard happened to be the next best option. I don't know how true this actually is, but to me, I actually thought that, like, when Tony Stewart retires, Kyle Larson could get the 14 car, but it just simply is not going to happen. And when I think about it, if Kyle Larson drove the 14 car, he's not, like, Larson currently is not like terrible with Ganassi, but I think Larson could actually get better performances, and I'm sure Klimpler is going to perform pretty good. Who knows? He might end up being like he might end up being like, Kevin Harvick or Kurt Busch. So who knows? And as far as next season driving for HK Motorsports, I think having a well-known name like Clint Bowyer and a driver that has had success before, I think he'll be good for HK Motorsports. I mean, to me, I don't know how well this is gonna work. I don't know how well this will work, but let's see. Who knows? I think to me, if I'm going to set an expectation for the team, I could see Clint Bowyer. I don't know if Clint Bowyer is going to have like winning or top 5, maybe even like top 10 cars. But to me, I think that if like Clint Bowyer can get that team, can take that car and get it to like top 20s or top 15s, I think it will definitely be a win for him and that team. And to me, because I think it's currently there already is someone driving the 51 car. It's being driven by Justin Allgaier, and the thing is, Allgaier, chances are Allgaier is likely going to get the boot, even though I would rather see Michael Annett get the boot, because I think Allgaier is a better driver than Michael Annett. But anyhow, Allgaier's future is not determined. If Allgaier does not get a ride, there have been some people saying like, well, he might get a ride with Richard Petty Motorsports and take his sponsor Brandit, I think it's called, over to the team, and if that doesn't happen, he might just end up getting a ride in the Xfinity or Truck Series. That's sort of my like second best option. Anyway, moving along. So let's get on to the two rain shortened practices we had in Saturday. Casey Kane wins the first practice. It was rain shortened, and the thing is, they really only got like 26 minutes out of it. Behind him, Edwards, Hamlin, Harvick, Almirola, Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Johnson, Kenseth, and McMurray. And then Harvick won the final practice, which only lasted for like 15 minutes. Behind him, Edwards, Kane, Kurt Busch, Dale Jr., Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Johnson, Kurt Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. And so the thing is, with very little practice, it could make for an interesting race. So anyway, here we go. And also on Sunday, this is sort of the last thing I had to talk about when it comes to race stuff. Martin Truex Jr. had to start in the back of the field because of an unimproved adjustment. Now, the thing is, I think it had something to do with the side skirts. I don't really know, but the thing is, and I don't know if this team, I don't think they're going to get any penalties. But to me, it was interesting to hear this out of a team, especially since like this isn't really like a driver, and this isn't really a team that a team that I would expect to hear this from, honestly. And so to me, like, if anything happens to them in the future, it could get pretty interesting. Anyway, green flag is in the air. Kansas chooses the outside, which the outside is pretty much the place you always want to be at Dover. In fact, I don't think one time this weekend in both the Sprint Cup and Xfinity Series did the leader ever choose the inside. And to me, it seemed like that. If you and it always seemed like that. Like if you were on the inside, you just simply could not go unless you're Kevin Harvick. But anyway, so green flag, Matt Kenseth pulls away, and already pretty quickly on lap number 3, caution number 1, Jeff Burton spins, and he spins in turns 1 and 2. And what happened was that him and Josh Wise came together, entering the corner, and actually just behind this, Martin Truex Jr. That's where he was, and he did a nice job to get slowed down just in time and avoid it. And then we had a restart, lap number 7, and Joey Logano moved into second, and that would be about as high as Logano really had. These past couple weeks, I haven't really. I guess maybe because I expect Logano to actually like go out there and like win. Maybe that's why I've been maybe a little slightly a little disappointed in his performance, but obviously it seems like that he still has the speed to run in front, and that's obviously important. And one thing we saw every now and then throughout the whole entire race, trash on the grill of cars. It was first seen. The first time I ever saw this was the Kevin Harvick's grill around lap number 15, but Harvick quickly got off when he passed Johnson for third place, and Kevin Harvick, he was just simply charging. He was flying out there, and would actually get by Matt Kenseth at around lap number 24, and then the first competition caution, and then a competition caution came out on lap number 40, and that'll be the second caution. Pit stops, and exiting the road. Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, Edwards, Logano, McMurray, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Gordon. But the thing is, here we go, penalties. Hamlin and Johnson were too fast on pit road, and so the thing is, they would start towards the tail end of the longest line, and now I really put them in a really deep box. Restart. Kevin Harvick pulls away once again, and he pretty much did this every single time he restarted, whether he restarted first or second. And the thing is, there were a couple of issues that I think either weren't talked about at all, or weren't really talked about like as much as I thought they would be. And one of those was Keselowski at around lap 65, saying they possibly has some temperature issues, and overall this was not really that great of a day as I expected from Keselowski. His car just seemed to be evil. And the thing is, this is indeed a track that he has won at. He won this race 3 years ago. And then pretty much as the race progressed, there was actually something interesting that I'm sure many of us saw if they can remember at around lap 90 or 100, and that was when we actually saw a side skirt on Kevin Harvick on the right side. And the thing is, this was claimed to be because of the car hidden in the racetrack. So obviously not intentionally done. And the thing is, that's the thing about side skirts. You cannot do it intentionally. If it happens because your car is in the racetrack or because of some other car, then it is okay. And then right here, this is where one of our chasers where everything just simply went down. Lap 124, Jimmy Johnson, who had gotten himself, I think around close to or actually inside the top of the team, he makes an unscheduled pit stop, and then 2 laps later, Johnson goes behind the wall. And like I said earlier, I think it was because something in the back of his car was broken, and I think Johnson would go behind the wall for several laps. And the thing is, I think when I saw this, I just simply was like, okay, Jimmy Johnson, he's not going to advance at all. They really killed. This really is going to hurt his chase hopes. And then later on in the race, caution number 3 for the on lap 112. Pit stops. Kevin Harvick keeps lead. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who would have restarted in the seventh position, actually came back down pit road with the report of loose lug nuts. Restart on lap 118. Kevin Harvick pulls away, and pretty much on almost every single restart. 10 laps after that restart, Kevin Harvick would have like a second or sometimes even like a 2-second lead over second place. And the thing is also at around this time, this is where I started seeing some of the non-chasers really quietly sneak their way up into the top 10 and eventually later into the top 5. With Larson, Casey Kane running in like 6 and 7. And really overall throughout most of the day, it was a pretty good day. It was a pretty good day for JGR. Unfortunately, in the finish, it really only shows that Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth had good days. The thing is, I do think that like all 4 cars were once again good. It was just simply due to either some luck or just simply mistakes that caused like Edwards and Denny Hamlin to just sort of get stuck in the back when they got there. But anyway, where do I what can I talk about next? Oh yeah, at around lap 151, Jimmy Johnson returned to the racetrack. 37 laps down, and I think actually a couple or several laps later, he actually was able to unlap one of his laps down, and so went from 37 to 36. If I said 36 first, I apologize. And the thing is, Kevin Harvick, he just simply continued to expand on his lead. And also another unscheduled pit stop for another one of our chasers, Clint Boyer, pits from 8th, and then he went 2 laps down. I cannot exactly remember why though. So if there was a reason, sorry. And the thing is also one thing we saw a lot is the thing is sort of after the I think that like after like the first like quarter, there was only like less than like 20 cars on the lead lap, which to me I think really shows about how fast Kevin Harvick in that 4 was. And overall, I was kind of surprised that like more drivers didn't end up taking the way around. The thing is also with how long most of the green flag runs were, I'm sure that led to many choosing not to risk it. And the thing is, by the time we approached lap 200, green flag pit stops were on the way. But the thing is, it didn't happen because on lap number 4, a lap 192, caution number 4. And this time, and Jeb Brown once again. The thing is, this time he snatched the wall in turn number 2, most likely because of a tire failure. And actually, when he came down pit road one lap later, there was actually a pretty big fire, and it actually led to a pretty lengthy caution with a pit road being closed for several laps. The thing is, one of the drivers did come down pit road. Once again, Kevin Harvick leaves the pits, and the thing is, in most of these pit stops, everyone took 4 tires. And the thing is, honestly, I'm kind of surprised that with this being like the last race in the contender round, the more drivers didn't choose to like take more like chances with strategy, but who knows? Maybe who knows? Maybe we'll see that Talladega. Maybe we'll see that Phoenix. I don't really know. But anyway, and like I said, because of the lengthy caution, we couldn't restart up until lap 206. So we spent like around like 14 laps under caution. And Kevin Harvick once again pulls away, and then is Kurt Busch. This is where I first saw Kurt Busch sort of become like a factor, like a factor to maybe like get like a top 5 finish. He challenged his brother Kyle Busch for like a lap or two, but wasn't able to complete the pass. And also Mark Jr., who also I believe he was actually but by this point in the race he was starting to crawl into the top. He was starting to crawl into the top 5. So the thing is, he made a nice comeback at the time. And then on lap 232, caution number 5 for debris on the front stretch, and they did show the debris. Pit stops, lap 233, and so the thing is, and for the first time since Harvick passed Kenseth, someone not by the name of Harvick left pit road first. Kyle Busch, Casey Kane, Mark Jr., Kevin Harvick, Logano, the top 5 exiting the pits. And the thing is, the top 3, they only took 2 tires. The thing is, Casey Kane came back down pit road because he felt like that he did not get enough fuel. Restart, lap 237 as Kyle Busch takes off. The thing is, Kevin Harvick was quickly right on his heels, and Harvick would actually get the lead on lap 248. And the thing is, Kyle sort of gave up the lead because actually he had trash on his grill, and was able to get off by getting behind Kevin Harvick just in time, just before Kevin Harvick was able to just once again sail away. And the thing is, one thing that also impressed me was Mark Jr. actually on those 2 tires, still being able to stay inside the top 5 for a long period of time. And then as we approach lap 300, there wasn't really like almost like any talk about this at all. And that was Kevin Harvick. And that was Kevin Harvick went from like a 5-second lead to almost like a 2.5 lead, and within the span of like 20 laps. And to me, I think what Harvick was trying to do is, I think like maybe he was thinking that like the race was going to go green the rest of the way, and maybe he was trying to save fuel. But the thing is, this was like the only time during the race that Kevin Harvick was actually getting reeled in. And another thing that I also don't think was talked about at all was Carl Edwards. At around lap 300, he actually thought he was actually blowing up, and then about 10 laps later, he reported some power issues. And then also at around lap 300, lap 311, caution number 6, AJ Allmendinger tries to enter the pit road, and the thing is, I'm sure that if there's one thing that makes over a very challenging track, it's very tricky pit road. We've seen like time after time of a driver either missing the pit road or spinning, entering the pits. And that's what happened to AJ Allmendinger. He goes around and actually he spins right back up in front of the racetrack. And actually, Kevin Harvick, he actually was not too far behind that as well. And so that brought out the 6th caution, and then we had pit stops. And the thing is, one thing that was being discussed was that if we go green the rest of the way after the lap 330 pit stops, most of these drivers would be short on fuel. And so the thing is, once again, the talk of fuel mileage became a hot topic for a while. And then exiting the pits, Harvick, Kyle Busch, Edwards Jr. and Logano. That was the top 5, and obviously most of the drivers were being told to save fuel, especially Kevin Harvick, who actually ran out of fuel with 2 laps to go last week at New Hampshire, looking like he was going to get another win. And the thing is, we have a restart on lap 317, and the thing is, Kyle Busch first lost second to Logano, and then lost third to Kyle Larson in just 1 lap. And the thing is, this was the first time this race where I saw Larson running very good. Definitely the best run I've seen out of Kyle Larson in quite some time. He did actually. I think he finished like 3rd or 4th back in May at this racetrack. So, and the thing is, he finished 3rd in this race one season ago. So it seems like Larson has been able to figure out something at Dover, and it's led to him getting some pretty good finishes. And then just a couple laps after the restart, Rodney Childress, Harvick's crew chief, told Harvick that he was like half a lap short, but then it wouldn't be too long before Harvick says, I think we're good. I think we're good. But to me, watching this live, and I'm sure others thought this as well. I wasn't that confident and didn't fully buy into what Harvick and his crew chief were saying and agreeing on. But anyway, we stayed green up. We stayed green up until lap 354, where we had our 7th caution of the day, and it was because Brett Moffitt smacks the wall in turn number 2, pit stops. And the thing is, this is where things got pretty interesting. Harvick, Larson, Logano, Kyle Busch, McMurray Jr., Truex Jr., Gordon, Casey Kane, and Stenhouse. Those were the first 10 to exit pit road. But the thing is, only Larson and Harvick took 2 tires. Everyone else took 4 tires, and Matt Kenseth actually chose to stay out. And so the thing is, when I saw that, I thought like this could get very interesting and maybe even insane. And also around this time, there was a lot of focus on Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jamie McMurray. But by this point in the race, they were running very close to each other, and obviously heading into this race, only 1 point separated them. But the thing is that 1 point was going to make the difference on whether you made the next round or not. And so because of that, there was a lot of focus on that. And here we go. Restart, lap 359. And the thing is, this was the only time in the race where the driver on the outside was not able to pull away. The thing is, who was the driver on the inside? Kevin Harvick. And the thing is, I believe he actually. And the thing is, I think he was actually the only driver to do that back in May as well. And so the thing is, when Harvick did it on the bottom, it did impress me. It did impress me, but it wasn't like that surprising. And then Kevin Harvick, he once again was able to take the lead, and actually Kenseth really held everyone up. Most likely because he was on those older tires, but actually Kenseth was actually able to hang on to third though. But the thing is, after the first couple laps, the top 2 had over like a 1 or 2 second lead over the rest of the field. And the thing is, Larson for a brief moment was actually doing a good job at actually being able to stay under a second behind Harvick. obviously couldn't catch him and pass him, but to me, I think that was impressive, and I think I actually heard some say on some website, I'm not gonna say it's the name, that Larson was on some laps running faster than Cameron Harvick, so that was pretty interesting. But the thing is, it wasn't simply like that easy for Harvick, because the thing is, on lap 373, caution number 8, the final caution of the day, and actually I actually for some reason actually did not write it in my notes, but actually it was because Landon Castle was leaking oil down the front stretch and entering turns 1 and 2. So yeah, you always want to get that cleaned up. And so the thing is, pit stops only like the back half of the lead lap came down pit road. And so here we go. Restart lap 377. Harvick is able to pull away. Kyle Busch to second 1 lap later. And Cameron Harvick just simply continues to pull away while all of this battling is going on. And so the thing is, Larson, and I think Larson a couple ups later, I think goes well for, I think he got loose, even though they did not show us a replay of that. I think he got loose, and also just simply the fact that he had older tires, he was dropping back, and obviously that's why he finished ninth. In the meantime, Dale Earnhardt and McMurray, they were third and fourth, and actually, what made the difference in Junior advancing and McMurray was that after the restart, after this last restart, McMurray was actually 2 spots ahead of Junior, and if the race ended right there, McMurray would have advanced into the next round. The thing is, McMurray couldn't get into turns 3 and 4 that well, and Junior was actually able to make a pass on both McMurray and Kenseth on the outside, and that made the difference right there. McMurray would never be able to get by Kevin Harvick. But anyway, as the race was closing, Eric Almirola, he was actually able to make it into the top 5. But the thing is, coming off of turn number 4, you know, with like a 2-second lead, Harvick wins the race, 3rd win of the season, first ever win at Dover. It makes it and advances into the challenger round. And the thing is, I'm sure I'm sure that some of you remember last year in the second to last round at Phoenix, Harvick had to win at Phoenix, and he got the job done. And so the thing is, like, to me, what this showed is, to me, this team and Harvick are never going to give up. Never count out Harvick. And so the thing is, with that, he advances into the round. McMurray does not make it, but Junior does. And I think as Harvick was doing once again another awesome burnout, Tony, him and Tony Stewart. Actually gave each other a high five, which actually I think was one of the maybe more like happier images to see this season, especially since Tony Stewart had announced this past Wednesday that he would be retiring, and I'm sure Tony Stewart was filled with happiness and joy for his teammate. Also, this was also the first Chevrolet to win a NASCAR race since Dale Earnhardt Jr. did it in July at Daytona. So the thing is, I think it's possibly safe to say that the Gibbs domination and the Indy Toyota streak is officially over. Possibly, who knows. They might just be able to return to title form next week at Charlotte, but who knows. And so the thing is, who was eliminated? Well, the thing is, I mentioned 2 of them, McMurray and Johnson. Menard and Boyer did make the round, and the thing is, those 2, Menard and Boyer, I actually predicted that they would not get past that they would not get past the first round, and obviously that was true. I still congratulate Menard on making his first ever chase, and I also give my congrats to Clint Boyer uh, 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 as being the last Michael Waltrip racing car to make the chase for Michael Waltrip Racing. Johnson, definitely a surprise, and obviously I think with Johnson's elimination, I think it simply like tells everyone hey, just because you finished well in the first 2 races doesn't mean that you are completely safe entering the 3rd race. And to me, I think it's going to be a good wake-up call that in the second round, you better go out there and win. Especially since the second round, I think winning in the second round might just be the most important round of them all. And why is that? Well, the thing is, we're heading to Charlotte, and we're heading to Kansas, and obviously there are 2 mile-and-a-half racetracks, which I know probably aren't going to really excite that many fans. But the thing is, after that we have Talladega. Talladega is like the ultimate wild card, and if you win at Charlotte, or Kansas, it's going to take a lot of weight off of your shoulders. So to me, it would not surprise me if at one of these 2 racetracks or both racetracks, if we have a couple of late race restarts and all of a sudden these drivers are going to drive crazy. It would not surprise me that at all. And so the thing is, who do I think is going to be good at Charlotte? Well, Carl Edwards, he was very good. Actually, Carl Edwards was actually not like that great. He was able to save the field though. The thing is, Harvick won this race. Harvick won the fall Charlotte race 1 season ago. And I think coming off of a win at Dover and advancing into the Challenger round, it would not surprise me if Kevin Harvick can go 2 in a row. And the thing is, who also runs well when I look at the last 5 races. Kenseth, 5th best average finish. Ryan Newman also has a pretty good average finish, 8.4. Danny Hamlin, Logano, Martin Truex Jr. led the most laps back in May. And I think that team definitely still has a little bit of speed in them. And who could possibly place Boulder? Well, the thing is, with Johnson eliminated, who knows? Johnson might just race there's nothing to lose. And if Johnson cannot win, then to me, I expect either Kyle Larson or Austin Dillon to pull off a big upset. Austin Dillon in his 3 races, I know he's only run through races, but he actually has among active drivers the past several races, not just the past 5, the 10th best average finish. A 15.0. But the thing is, I remember him actually running pretty good at one point in the race back in May. So who knows? But anyway, I think that's pretty much going to be it for this race review. And actually, I hope that maybe in the future I can maybe shortening these videos a little bit. But I would like to thank everyone for watching this video. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and bye.